Metadata loading needs to be automated when adding descriptive attributes to thousands or millions of files. The hardest task in the construction of a digital collection is the assignment of descriptive metadata to each digital object. Descriptive information might be supplied along with the data in a separate file. Descriptive information might be parsed from metadata stored within the file. Or feature-based description might be used to identify the features present within a file through the application of feature detection algorithms. How can these tasks be automated? Can metadata be encapsulated in a standard format that is used to encode description? Can the standard format be parsed to extract and register each metadata attribute? We will look at two possibilities: the use of XML files to aggregate descriptive metadata, and the use of pipe delimited files to aggregate metadata for automated loading. An XML schema is shown here that can be used to aggregate metadata for automated loading into the data grid. The XML schema is parsed by a microservice called MSI Load Metadata from XML. In the schema, standard elements are defined for describing the metadata that is added to a file. A target element is defined for each metadata attribute, and the metadata attribute name, value, and units are defined by additional XML elements. Each metadata attribute on each file is separately defined, enabling the application of the schema to arbitrary sets of files. In this approach, the metadata added to each file can be unique. To automate loading of metadata using the XML schema, execute the following steps. On your laptop, create an XML file holding the desired attributes that is called sample.xml. If all of the attributes will be associated with a single file in the data grid, you can specify the iRODS file name on the rule input line when you process the sample.xml file. Load the sample.xml file into your lifetime library collection. Download the rule test load metadata from XML from lifelibzone home rwmore rules test load metadata from XML.r. Modify the rule test load metadata from XML to refer to your preferred collection location. You can execute the rule using the iDrop web browser or using the iRule command. The rule that is used to load metadata using an XML schema is shown here. The rule sets up a path name to a target collection in the workflow variable target object. The location of the XML file is stored in the workflow variable XML object. The XML file is parsed by the microservice MSI load metadata from XML. The rule writes out a statement that the metadata were added. Target files specified in the XML file override the location specified in the target object variable. If you do not want to specify the target file in the XML file using the XML element target lifelibzone home rwmore rules ruleid.r/target, you can define the file that will be modified as an input parameter to the rule test load metadata from XML. Modify the input line to specify the value for target object to the file that you want to have the metadata added to. Note that the target object is specified as a relative path to your home collection on the input line of the rule. Take 7 minutes to complete exercise 57. Try loading metadata using an XML file. Create an XML file that contains at least 2 attributes. Use the rule and lifelibzone home rwmore test load metadata from XML.r to add the attributes to a file in your collection. List the metadata on the file after the rule is run. Please load a paragraph on your results into the lifetime library in the subcollection class INLS 624 by the end of today's class. Please turn in homework assignment number 8 by noon on Monday of the next week. Modify a metadata rule to identify all of the files that have a specific metadata attribute. An example of a metadata analysis rule is in the Policy Examples Workbook, Chapter 6.13.